Hi, I am Bob Aronson. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about some of the issues and some of the expectations coming out of the new administration in the realm of employment-based immigration. We have a lot of uncertainty as to the directions that President-elect Trump will choose to undertake. On the one hand, he is a product of the business community, which in general has supported employment-based immigration. And as such, that should create a very strong influence on his policy proposals. On the other hand, one of his major constituencies has been blue-collar workers and in general a commitment to restoring jobs. And he has also painted immigration as a massive job giveaway program, in particular the H-1B temporary worker provisions. So there's a certain cacophony of influences in his developing policy proposals. And what I'd like to do over the next 10 minutes or so is to try to parse out not so much the bottom line of what's going to happen, but some of the considerations that we'll be looking at over this forthcoming period of time. I want to, in particular, focus on 6 visa types which merit some type of consideration in the realm of employment-based immigration. First of all, and most importantly, I want to talk about the issue areas that may be undergoing revision in the H-1B temporary worker program. And that's the most controversial. Secondly, let's talk a little bit about the PERM labor certification application, both in terms of qualifying foreign nationals for permanent residence under PERM applications. And then it's also a good introduction to the comments of Lon Wynn in terms of the compliance aspect, which we can expect in the permanent resident arena. Third, I'd like to speak about F1 students, the feeder source for high-quality knowledge workers in the United States, and in particular, possible vulnerabilities in the optional practical training, and in particular the STEM OPT, or STEM optional practical training programs. And I want to explain why it is so critical that these programs be left intact. Fourth, we've heard quite a bit of commentary on possible revisions to the NAFTA Accords. Part of the NAFTA Accords provide immigration status to professionals from Canada and from Mexico, and therefore a revision in NAFTA could have some serious spillover effects in the immigration arena. Fifth, I want to say a few words on the EB5 Investor Program. And sixth, just a few general comments on the whole panoply of other employment-based immigration categories. So let's start with the H-1B temporary worker provisions. By definition, the H-1B temporary worker provisions constitutes a temporary non-immigrant visa category that covers a broad range of professionals working in the United States. It initially requires clearance from the Department of Labor to ensure that the employment will take place under non-discriminatory wage and working conditions, and then the focus shifts to the immigration authorities, to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, to determine whether the position is a specialty occupation that is a professional position. In the campaign, President-elect Trump designated or labeled the H-1B program as a job giveaway program. And there have been certain uncertainties and certain vulnerabilities, particularly in the IT field and in particular in the job shop situation. So this is a visa category that has been attracting a great deal of attention over this past period of time. While we don't know what will transpire, we do know that there are some movements to tighten up the H-1B temporary worker provisions, primarily on focusing on the wage issue. So there could be revisions which do anything from requiring employers to go through some type of labor market test, like a recruitment program, to ensuring that the wages being offered to an H-1B beneficiary meet certain guidelines, either in terms of being at the upper echelon, called level 4 or level 3, wage levels as set by the U.S. Department of Labor, or being a certain percentage above the norm of similarly qualified U.S. workers. So the manipulation of the wage issue in and of itself could be a significant tightening up and a significant detriment to H-1B utilization. I think we may also see some movement or some initiatives in terms of carving out the IT job shop sector as having certain particular requirements that need to be fulfilled in order to get H-1B status to an IT contracting company. So these are all things that at some level or another will probably be entering the hopper over the next period of time. Picking up on one of the major points raised by Laura, revisions to the H-1B is not something that can be undertaken and consummated unilaterally by the president. It requires, in most instances, congressional action to revise the statute or regulatory revision undergoing new rulemaking to develop new regulations, because it's the regulations that control the entire pattern of what's required for H-1B coverage. Moving on to the PERM labor certification application. This has been something that has not really hit the radar screen during the campaign. There's been very little mention or review of revisions in the PERM labor certification application and process, which is the process under which an employer needs to recruit and advertise and go through a series of steps to show that it is infeasible or impossible to hire a fully qualified U.S. worker, and that the job is being offered to a foreign national under acceptable wage conditions. As a result, I think we have that there's a pretty good bet for the foreseeable future that we are not going to see major changes in the process to acquire an approved PERM labor certification application, that is, in the acquisition of the benefit. I think that we're going to see some major changes and new emphases in the compliance arena, and that's exactly what Lon is going to address in her segment. Another issue, which is quite concerning, is whether we'll see any revisions affecting the international student population, both in the admission of foreign students to the United States, but more importantly, in their ability to acquire work authorization following graduation. There are two programs under which F1 students can get employment authorization in order to gain real-world experience in the area of their academic studies. One is a program that all students qualify for called optional practical training, and that's a 12-month period of employment authorization. But then for STEM students, that is, students, or more particularly graduates in STEM disciplines, defined as science, technology, engineering, and math, there is a possibility to gain 24 months of additional employment authorization, thereby bringing their period of employment authorization up to 36 months. Here's the importance of OPT and STEM OPT. First of all, it is a major impetus for international students to come to the United States. Secondly, this window of employment eligibility provides a very needed bridge from the F1 student world into more permanent or long-term immigration in the United States, either for an F1 student to attain permanent resident status or H-1B status. And number three, this is really a very needed initiative in order to get thought leaders and emerging leaders and critically needed professionals, particularly in the STEM disciplines, to commit to coming to the United States. And all of the statistical data indicates that the OPT and STEM OPT program are absolutely essential in order to preserve U.S. competitiveness, particularly in the technical sciences. OPT and STEM OPT is something under which the administration, the incoming administration, could exert enormous influence in terms of revising or truncating to varying extents, because it's a function of regulatory enactment. Therefore, we really don't know yet to what degree, if any, the F1 student program, and in particular its corollaries in the OPT and STEM OPT fields, will come under analysis by the incoming administration. Moving on, one of the quite controversial elements for permanent residents has been the EB5 Investor Program, probably stemming from a basic disquietude in the United States of linking immigration benefits to investment capital. Quite regrettably, over the years, the EB5 program has come under significant pressure, and its renewal has recurrently been delayed. This is one area where I think that we can expect some concerted support and concerted initiatives from the incoming administration, not only to preserve the program, but very possibly to expand it, particularly by liberalizing the job creation provisions under the EB5 program. In conclusion, what I've gone over, that is H-1B, permanent residence based on PERM applications, the F1 student program, and the EB5 investor program, are the main issues that, at least thus far, have surfaced as being susceptible to change and revision under the Trump administration. There's a wide range of other employment initiatives which over time may also be undergoing reanalysis under the new administration, but that will be the subject for future sessions. Thank you.